Mrs. Bennet will be placing the $42,000 deposit today. My mother-in-law said it without looking at me. Diane Bennet sat at the end of the polished conference table, one hand beside a leather travel folder, as if she were approving a deal already settled. On the screen behind her were white villas in Santorini, private cars in Rome, and blue water along the Amalfi Coast. I was 42, a finance director, and apparently the only person in the room who had not been told I was paying for a $68,000 family vacation. "I'm sorry," I said. "What deposit?" Diane laughed softly. "Claire, don't make this awkward. It's Robert's 65th birthday." My sister-in-law Vanessa leaned back. "You always handle the travel costs. Why are we pretending this is new?" Beside me, my husband, Ethan, stared at the table. His silence felt louder than anything his family had said. "I never agreed to fund this trip." Diane's smile tightened. "You do very well for yourself. Family should be able to celebrate without turning everything into an accounting exercise." Before I could answer, Mia Torres, the travel agent, turned her laptop toward us. "There is something all of you need to understand," she said. "Claire isn't just the person being asked to help with this booking. According to our records, she is the only Bennet family member who has ever submitted a payment for any trip booked through this agency." The room went still. Vanessa sat forward. "That can't be right." But Diane's face told me she knew it was. What they didn't know was that I had already seen those records. In the folder on my lap were 6 years of statements, invoices, messages, and promises that had never been kept. Before I explain how I ended up in that room, tell me in the comments, has anyone ever mistaken your generosity for an obligation? Subscribe if you believe saying no does not make someone selfish. 6 weeks earlier, I still thought this could be solved quietly. To understand why, you need to know what becoming a Bennet meant to me. I had been married to Ethan for 11 years. I grew up in a middle-class home where my father paid bills at the kitchen table every Friday and my mother wrote every expense in a blue notebook. We were not wealthy, but money was honest. Nobody promised repayment unless they meant it. By the time I married Ethan, both of my parents were gone. That made me more eager than I wanted to admit to belong to a large family again. At first, the Bennets seemed to offer exactly that. Diane was a retired real estate agent who cared deeply about appearances. Robert owned a small landscaping company and disappeared into silence whenever conversations became uncomfortable. Vanessa, Ethan's younger sister, was treated like the family success story, even though she changed careers often and regularly needed help with bills. Her husband, Kyle, supported any plan that looked impressive in photographs. Ethan seemed different. He was gentle and thoughtful in private. Around his mother, though, he became careful. Diane's disappointment could change the mood of an entire room, so Ethan had learned to prevent it. "Can we just keep the peace?" became his answer to almost everything. Slowly, I became the reliable daughter-in-law. I remembered birthdays, booked restaurants, corrected hotel reservations, and brought extra gifts when Vanessa forgot hers. Whenever something went wrong, someone called me. The Bennet family's proudest tradition was its annual vacation. Diane treated each trip like proof that they were close, successful, and happy. She planned coordinated dinners, chose photographs for social media, and made sure disagreements disappeared before the camera came out. When she first asked me to help with a reservation, I felt included. I did not understand that they were not giving me a place in the family. They were assigning me a role. And the first time Diane asked me to temporarily cover a hotel deposit, I had no idea temporary would last 6 years. The first trip was supposed to be simple. Diane and Robert were celebrating their anniversary in Napa Valley, and Diane called me 2 days before the hotel deposit was due. "My card has been flagged for fraud," she said. "Would you mind covering it until Friday? I'll transfer the money as soon as the bank clears everything." The deposit was $2,400. I hesitated, but Ethan was standing beside me in the kitchen, silently mouthing, "Please." So I paid it. Friday passed. Then another week. When I finally mentioned the money, Diane looked genuinely surprised. "Oh," she said. "I thought that was your anniversary gift to us." I reminded her that she had promised to repay me. Her expression changed just enough to make me feel rude. "Well, I suppose I misunderstood. But it was such a lovely gesture, Claire." Robert was very touched. Robert had never even known I paid. That should have been my warning. The following winter, Vanessa wanted the family to rent a ski house in Colorado. She promised to transfer her share on payday. "I'm not like Mom," she joked. "I actually pay people back." Her share was $1,800. Payday arrived, nothing. When I asked her about it, she frowned and said the house had been smaller than the photos made it look. "I don't see why I should pay the full amount when the room wasn't that nice." "You agreed before we booked it," I said. She stared at me as if I had insulted her. Later, Ethan asked me to wait until after Christmas before bringing it up again. "It's just bad timing," he said. "She's stressed." There was always a reason to wait. A holiday, a birthday, a difficult month. A family dinner nobody wanted ruined. Over the next several years, the same pattern followed us to Cabo, Charleston, and Lake Tahoe. My card covered deposits, rental cars, private tours, and upgraded rooms. Diane told me reimbursements were being organized. She told everyone else I had offered to treat the family. Because those conversations happened separately, I did not realize she was telling two different stories. Vanessa began calling me the family accountant. She said it with a smile, usually when I asked who had paid for what. At a dinner after the Charleston trip, she lifted her wine glass and said, "Claire can afford it. She doesn't have kids draining her bank account." The table went quiet for half a second. Then Kyle laughed. Diane looked down at her plate. She knew Ethan and I had spent years going through fertility treatments. She knew how much those appointments had cost us emotionally and financially. She knew we had finally stopped because I could no longer walk into another clinic and pretend hope did not hurt. She still said nothing. I smiled because I had become very good at protecting everyone else from the discomfort they caused me. That night, I cried in the hotel bathroom with the faucet running. Ethan held me afterward and said Vanessa had not meant it that way. I remember looking at him and thinking, then why am I always the one expected to understand? By the Lake Tahoe trip, I paid nearly $9,000. At dinner on the final night, Diane raised her glass and thanked the whole family for contributing equally. Everyone applauded. I smiled for the photograph. Nobody asked what I had paid. When we got home, I opened my laptop at the kitchen table. For the first time, I stopped trusting promises and started recording them. That was the part the Bennetts never understood about me. They mistook silence for carelessness. My job required the opposite. As a finance director for a regional healthcare company, I spent my days reviewing budgets, tracking irregular expenses, and asking questions people often preferred not to answer. I would never approve a business charge without documentation. Yet in my personal life, I had allowed guilt to replace evidence. I created a spreadsheet. Trip by trip, I entered every deposit, flight, rental car, excursion, and hotel balance I had covered. I downloaded credit card statements and searched old emails. I saved screenshots of Vanessa promising transfers and Diane asking me to cover things just until next week. The total was $38,740. I stared at the number for a long time. It was not enough to destroy my finances, but it represented years of student loan payments, emergency savings, and money Ethan and I had spent trying to build a family of our own. The charges had felt smaller because they came one at a time. Together, they told the truth. I was financially comfortable, but I was not endlessly wealthy. I had worked hard, lived carefully, and recently accepted an offer to become a partner in a small financial consulting firm. I had not told the Bennetts. Every time I received a raise, Diane treated it like an increase in the family budget. So I kept the partnership private. Then I quietly removed Diane as an authorized contact from a shared travel account. I asked Mia Torres to require direct payment from every adult traveler. I also stopped using the joint card Ethan had once allowed his mother to keep on file for emergencies. I did not have a secret fortune. I had something more useful. Records. And a decision. I would never fund another Bennett vacation. A week later, Diane began planning Robert's 65th birthday trip. She did not ask whether I would pay. She gave the travel agency my name as the financial sponsor. Naomi Reed was the first person who looked at my spreadsheet and did not call it a misunderstanding. She had worked with me years earlier, before leaving corporate finance to start her own bookkeeping firm. By then, she was 48, divorced, and raising a teenage daughter. Her marriage had ended after years of financial control that had been disguised as teamwork. We met at a quiet coffee shop near my office. Rain tapped against the windows, while Naomi scrolled through the spreadsheet on my laptop. She did not speak for several minutes. Then she looked at me and said, "Claire, this is not forgetfulness." I wrapped both hands around my coffee cup. "They're careless," I said. "Diane assumes everyone will work things out. Vanessa is always short on money. It's not some organized plan." Naomi turned the laptop toward me. $38,740 is not carelessness. I immediately defended Ethan. "He never told me to pay them." "No," Naomi said. "He only asked you not to upset them after you already had." The words stung, because they were true. I told her Ethan loved me. I told her he was caught between his wife and his family. I said he had spent his whole life managing Diane's moods, and probably did not even understand what he was doing. Naomi listened without interrupting. Then she asked, "Would they still treat you like family if your credit card stopped working?" I looked down at the pale ring left by my coffee cup. I could not answer. Naomi did not tell me to leave Ethan or demand every dollar by morning. She helped me separate the problem into 3 parts. "The money already gone is one issue," she said. "Protecting your future is another. And your husband's willingness to face the truth is the third." She reminded me that whether I could afford another trip did not matter. Consent did. That evening, I showed Ethan the spreadsheet total. He sat at the kitchen island in his work shirt, staring at the number. "That can't be right." "It is." He rubbed a hand across his face. "Mom said people reimbursed you through the family travel fund." I stared at him. "What family travel fund?" His eyes lifted slowly. Neither of us spoke. Ethan said Diane had mentioned it several times. He assumed Vanessa, Robert, and the others contributed money that eventually came back to us. He had never asked where the fund was held, who managed it, or whether I had received anything. "I thought you knew," he said. "You thought I knew about money that never reached me?" He promised to call Diane the next morning. Before he could, my phone began vibrating across the counter. The Bennett family group chat was filling with photographs. The first showed the Colosseum at sunset. Then came the Amalfi Coast, a white villa in Santorini, and a private yacht cutting through bright blue water. Beneath the photographs, Diane had written, "Robert's 65th birthday trip is officially in motion. Claire has generously agreed to handle the deposit." The itinerary was 10 days long: Rome, the Amalfi Coast, Santorini, business-class flights, private drivers, guided tours, separate suites for Diane and Robert, Vanessa and Kyle, and Ethan and me. The estimated total was just under $68,000. Vanessa replied first. "I'm already shopping." Kyle asked whether the villa suite could be upgraded to one with a private terrace. Then Robert sent me a private message. "Claire, I don't know what to say. This is more than I ever expected. You've made my birthday unforgettable." That message hurt more than Diane's announcement. Robert believed it. I typed carefully into the group chat. "I have not agreed to fund this vacation. Every adult traveler will need to pay the agency directly for their own share." The typing bubble appeared beneath Diane's name, then disappeared. A minute later, she posted a link to a Michelin-starred restaurant in Rome and asked whether everyone preferred the early or late reservation. She ignored me completely. That afternoon, Mia Torres called from the travel agency. Her voice was measured but uncomfortable. "Claire, Diane listed you as the financial sponsor. Before we process anything, I need your signed authorization for the $42,000 deposit." "You do not have it." "I assumed not. She said this was how your family usually handled group travel." I closed my office door. "Do not charge any card connected to me. Do not confirm the flights, villa, or transfers under my name." Mia paused. "Understood." I then asked her for the complete payment history from every Bennett trip her agency had arranged. Mia said she would prepare it, but several holds would expire within days. When Ethan finally called Diane, he spent nearly 40 minutes in the garage. He came back looking exhausted. "She says you're embarrassing everyone over money." I said they need to pay for their own vacation. "She claims everyone planned to reimburse you afterward." I almost laughed. "After the trip?" Like every other time? Ethan had no answer. The following morning, Diane announced that Robert's birthday brunch would be held in a private dining room at an upscale restaurant downtown. She said the final itinerary would be presented to the extended family. I knew what she was doing. She was creating an audience. Diane believed I would never correct her in front of relatives, birthday candles, and a man who thought I had given him the trip of a lifetime. She believed public gratitude would make refusal impossible. I planned to attend and correct the story quietly. I did not yet know she had prepared a toast. The private dining room overlooked the river. White tablecloths, folded gray napkins, and small candles made everything look carefully staged. On a television near the front, photographs of Rome, the Amalfi Coast, and Santorini moved across the screen. Nearly 20 relatives were already seated when Ethan and I arrived. Vanessa was discussing what she planned to pack. Kyle was showing Robert a video of the villa's infinity pool. Nobody spoke as though the trip was uncertain. Diane kissed my cheek. There she is, our generous girl. I stepped back. We need to tell everyone I'm not paying for this trip. Her smile stayed in place. Not now, Claire. We should correct it before the presentation. You are not ruining Robert's birthday over a temporary financial arrangement. Then she walked away. I looked at Ethan. He had heard her. Talk to her. I will. Let Dad enjoy brunch first. The answer hurt, because it was familiar. After the meal, Diane stood beside Robert and lifted her champagne glass. None of this would be possible without Claire, she announced. She has generously offered to fund this once-in-a-lifetime celebration. The room erupted in applause. Robert turned toward me, visibly moved, and opened his arms. For one painful second, I almost let the lie stand. Then I remained seated. There has been a mistake, I said. I did not offer to pay for this vacation. The applause died. Diane laughed as if I had made a nervous joke. Claire gets anxious when large numbers are discussed. We've already worked through this. No, we haven't. Vanessa pushed back her chair. Are you seriously doing this at Dad's birthday? I'm correcting something that should never have been announced. You earn more than anyone here, she said. Why are you acting poor? Kyle shrugged. Family members who can help are supposed to help. You chose a $68,000 vacation without asking whether I wanted to pay for it. Diane's expression hardened. After everything this family has done to include you, I never imagined you would embarrass us like this. Include me. The word almost took my breath away. Ethan leaned closer. Can we discuss this at home? Everyone heard him. That was the moment something inside me became quiet. He was not asking them to stop humiliating me. He was asking me to accept it more politely. I stood and picked up my purse. Love is not measured by how much debt I'm willing to accept. Diane's face flushed. So you're walking out? I'm paying for what I ordered, nothing else. I found the server, paid for my meal, and placed the receipt beside my folded napkin. Outside, the cold air stung my face. Ethan followed me into the parking lot. You didn't have to do that in front of everyone. They announced it in front of everyone. My dad looked crushed. Then ask your mother why she promised him a gift using my money. He looked away. That evening, Diane sent 6 messages accusing me of destroying Robert's birthday. Vanessa removed me from the group chat, then continued sending upgrade requests to Mia. At 9:14, my inbox refreshed. The subject line read, Bennett Family Historical Payment Record. I opened the attachment. Then I stopped crying. The next morning, I met Mia before the agency opened. She placed a thick report between us. I checked every Bennett booking we handled, she said. 5 vacations were listed. Every deposit, hotel balance, excursion, vehicle, and upgrade had been charged either to my personal card or to the joint account funded mainly from my salary. There was no authorization from Diane, Robert, Vanessa, or Kyle. Not one of them had ever paid the agency $1. Mia showed me internal notes. Diane had repeatedly called me the family sponsor. She instructed the agency to send invoices only to me, while telling me that reimbursements were coming. I thought everyone had agreed, Mia said. You always approved the final charges. I approved them because I was told I would be repaid. At home, I placed Mia's report beside my spreadsheet, statements, emails, and screenshots. The pattern was complete. When Ethan saw everything, he went pale. "The family travel fund," he whispered. "There was never a fund." He sat silently at the kitchen table. "I should have checked." "Yes. I'm sorry. An apology does not erase years of choosing the easiest version of the truth." That afternoon, Diane called Mia and demanded a private meeting. She said I was emotional and that everything could be settled once we sat down together. I agreed under two conditions. Mia would explain the payment rules herself, and the complete booking history would remain open on her laptop. I told Ethan he could attend, but he could not ask me to protect his family from the facts. This time, I was not going there to be understood. I was going there to end the arrangement. The conference room looked exactly as it had 6 weeks earlier: glass walls, polished wood, and photographs of places people visited when money was not a problem. Diane sat at the head of the table, as if she had arranged the meeting. Robert was beside her. Vanessa and Kyle sat together across from Ethan and me. Mia placed her laptop near the center, with the payment records already open. Diane began before anyone else could speak. "Claire has been under a great deal of stress," she told Mia. "This situation has become emotional, but we are ready to move forward with the deposit." I kept my hands folded over the folder in front of me. Mia's expression remained professional. "I cannot process any charge without Claire's written authorization." Diane waved one hand dismissively. "That has never been necessary before. We contribute through She handles the payments because she understands all of this better than the rest of us." "That is not what the account history shows," Mia said. Vanessa sighed loudly. "Are we really going through years of vacations because Claire suddenly wants attention?" Mia turned the laptop so everyone could see the screen. "Across the 5 Bennett family trips our agency arranged, every payment came from Claire or from the joint card associated with Claire and Ethan. We received no payment from Diane, Robert, Vanessa, or Kyle." The room became silent. Vanessa recovered first. "I paid Claire in cash." I opened my folder. "No, you didn't." I placed printed screenshots on the table. One showed Vanessa asking to delay repayment because her rent had increased. Another blamed unexpected car repairs. A third said she would transfer the money after receiving a work bonus. The final message read, "Please don't mention this to Kyle. He thinks I already paid you." Kyle picked up the page. "You told me that was settled." Vanessa's face reddened. "I was going to pay her." "That message is from 3 years ago," I said. Diane leaned forward. "Those trips were gifts. Claire offered because she wanted the family to enjoy itself." I slid another stack of messages across the table. In one, Diane promised repayment after a property closing. In another, she said Robert's company would reimburse me after tax season. There were promises tied to bonuses, refunds, and checks that were supposedly already in the mail. Mia looked at Diane. "Our booking notes also say that you referred to Claire as the family sponsor and asked us to send all invoices directly to her." I was simplifying the process. "You were telling me everyone would repay me," I said, while telling everyone else I had volunteered. Ethan had been quiet until then. He looked directly at his mother. "What happened to the family travel fund?" Diane blinked. "What?" "You told me everyone was contributing to a fund that reimbursed Claire." Robert turned toward her. "You told me the same thing." Diane looked from one face to another. "I was trying to prevent unnecessary arguments. Claire could afford the expenses, and everyone was enjoying the trips. I did not see the point of creating conflict over every little payment." $38,000 is not a little payment," Ethan said. Robert stared at the report on Mia's screen. "The Napa trip," he said quietly. "I thought the children shared that cost." "I paid for it," I told him. "And Tahoe?" "Almost all of it." His shoulders dropped. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" "I tried," I said. "Every time I asked about repayment, I was told the timing was wrong. There was always a holiday, a birthday, or some family event I was expected not to ruin." Diane's voice softened. "Robert, this meeting is supposed to be about your birthday. We should not allow Claire's resentment to destroy something beautiful." There it was. Not an apology. Not even embarrassment. Just another attempt to make my refusal look cruel. She turned toward me. "If you cancel now, everyone will know. Robert will be humiliated." Vanessa has already told people about the trip. We cannot simply walk away. You can still take the vacation, I said. You only need to pay for it. Vanessa gave a sharp laugh. You know we can't afford that. Then you should not have planned it. Diane's eyes narrowed. So this is punishment? No. This is a boundary. I placed my unsigned authorization form on the table. I am not the Bennett family bank. And love that requires access to my credit card is not love. Nobody interrupted me. I told Mia that I was formally declining responsibility for the European booking. My name was to be removed as sponsor, and no future reservation could list me as financially responsible without direct written confirmation from me. Mia made a note. Understood. Diane looked at Ethan. You could authorize the joint account. No, he said. The single word surprised everyone, including me. She stared at him. This is your father's birthday. It is also our marriage and our savings. I'm not taking money behind Claire's back. Diane pushed her chair away from the table. I hope both of you understand what you are doing to this family. I closed my folder. We are not doing this to the family. We are stopping what the family has been doing to us. The meeting ended without shouting. That almost made it more powerful. For the next 3 days, Diane and Vanessa acted as though I would change my mind before the deadline. Vanessa continued posting vague photographs of Italy and writing captions about an unforgettable summer. I did nothing. The Santorini villa hold expired first. 2 days later, the discounted business class seats were released. Mia offered them a cheaper package with economy flights and modest hotels, but Diane rejected it. The hotels did not have the right views, and the revised itinerary would not look like the trip she had already described to relatives. Robert finally refused to participate. I don't want a birthday gift paid for through pressure, he told Diane. Instead, he booked a 3-day fishing trip with 2 friends and paid for it himself. Vanessa blamed me for making the family look unsuccessful. Kyle discovered they were carrying more credit card debt than Vanessa had admitted. Their arguments stopped being private. I removed my card from every shared account and changed every old travel password. Ethan and I separated our vacation savings from the money either of us could spend independently. At work, I signed the final partnership papers for the consulting firm. For the first time in years, my success felt like it belonged to me. Ethan began counseling. I did not reward him for taking one correct step after years of silence, but I noticed that he had finally stopped defending what could no longer be defended. The European vacation disappeared. Then the apologies began. But each one came with a condition, a request, or a new reason I was supposed to start paying again. Diane's apology arrived by email, 4 days after the final flight hold expired. It was almost 3 pages long. She called herself a loving mother who had become carried away while planning Robert's birthday. She wrote about family unity and how painful it was to watch one disagreement divide everyone. She never wrote, I lied. She never wrote, I used your money without permission. Instead, the final paragraph asked whether I would help pay for a smaller trip to Florida so the family could heal together. I read it once, then moved it into a folder with the others. Vanessa was less careful. She accused me of exposing private financial information to humiliate her. A week later, she asked for a temporary loan because one of her credit card payments was overdue. I answered neither message. Robert called me separately. I benefited from those trips, he said. Even if I didn't know how they were paid for, I should have asked. He offered to repay part of what I had spent through monthly transfers. I accepted only after we documented the amount and schedule. I also told him Diane could not manage the payments. I understand, he said. His apology mattered because it did not ask me to comfort him. Ethan's apology took longer. One evening, he sat across from me at the kitchen table where I had built the first spreadsheet. I kept calling it peace, he said. But it was only peaceful for me because you carried the cost. I told him regret was not enough. We began couples counseling. We separated our discretionary accounts, kept shared expenses transparent, and agreed that neither of us would lend money or make financial promises to relatives without mutual consent. I also set 6 months of no contact with Diane and Vanessa. Ethan could see them, but I would not manage birthdays, buy gifts, plan dinners, or explain my boundaries through him. For the first time, I stated my decision once. Then I let the silence stand. 6 months later, my life was quieter. Ethan was still in counseling. He corrected relatives when they blamed me, instead of asking me to tolerate their comments. We were rebuilding slowly. One good season could not erase 11 difficult years, but he was finally doing the work without asking for praise. My consulting partnership gave me more control over my schedule. When my first bonus arrived, I did not spend it proving I was generous. I added to my savings and funded a small scholarship through a professional women's organization. Giving felt different when nobody demanded it. That fall, Naomi and I rented a small house on the Oregon coast. We split the cost, bought groceries together, and argued only about who made stronger coffee. One morning, we walked along the cold beach. I used to think being useful made me safe, I told her. Naomi looked toward the ocean. Useful to whom? That question stayed with me. Ethan joined us for the final day. He paid for his own flight and did not treat my independence as rejection. Robert kept every payment on schedule. Diane remained distant. Vanessa never apologized honestly. I eventually understood that boundaries do not force people to change. They stop those people from continuing to harm you. Months later, I attended a Bennett gathering for Robert's birthday. I drove myself and planned to stay for 1 hour. There were no surprise bills, no jokes about my income, no travel folders beside my plate. Near the end of dinner, Diane mentioned that a family cruise might be nice the following summer. Before she could look at me, Ethan said, "Then everyone can book and pay for their own cabin." The room went quiet. I did not defend myself. I simply finished my coffee. That was when I knew I was free. My victory was never the canceled European vacation. It was realizing that I did not have to purchase a place in anyone's family. Ethan and I later planned a simple anniversary trip. We chose it together, divided the cost fairly, and booked only what we could afford. If you have ever been made to feel selfish for setting a boundary, share your experience in the comments. Subscribe for more stories about choosing dignity over guilt. I once believed love was proven by how much I was willing to sacrifice. Now I know real love never sends an invoice.